Hi, Leo here from theconeoflearning.com. I wanted to share with you a couple of resources, a couple tools that I use when I teach my Security Plus classes. This section here is on Security Plus Introduction, really mitigating threats. And if you need more information, you can always register for free at theconeoflearning.com. I'm going to move fast here, so please, if you want to go watch this 5 times so you can get it all, go ahead. Let's look at the major sections here. These are the 50,000 foot view. You got security threats, securing the operating system, virus and spyware management, web browser security, and of course social engineering. We're going to go into each of these in detail. Just to give you guys a real quick tip, when I look at test questions, Security Plus test questions, practice test questions, I look at the answers and I think to myself, which one of these can I group together and form in terms of technology weaknesses, configuration weaknesses, or human error malice, or maybe it just is an oddball answer and I can't really group it in one area or another. So let's look at technology weaknesses. This could be something such as TCP/IP. TCP/IP has known weaknesses within how it functions. For example, you may have heard of the ping of death, and this is where you keep testing connectivity between somebody, but you do it with a really, really large packet. Next, you got operating system weaknesses. For example, maybe a misconfigured operating system, and that allows me to install a rootkit. That would be an operating system weakness. Then you got networking equipment, things like switches and routers. Switches, if you don't lock down the ports, I could insert a bad MAC address into the switch's cache, and that could allow me to go ahead and tack, or at least to have other traffic redirected to my port as well. And when it comes to routers, you can always mess with the routing protocols and get traffic to maybe bypass a firewall. So the networking equipment can also be used against itself. Next, you got configuration weaknesses. Examples of configuration weaknesses would be unsecured user accounts, unsecured default access, misconfigured internet services, systems with weak passwords, misconfigured networking equipment, and other things like Trojans and viruses. Not necessarily a worm. A worm would really be an operating system weakness, where a virus would really be a configuration weakness. Human error and malice. You got to determine if it was an accident, if there was ignorance involved, or maybe somebody just decided to take some shortcuts because of the workload. Other things that are in this category are dishonesty, impersonalization, disgruntled employees, people that are always eavesdropping or snooping around or shoulder surfing or piggybacking. You got denial of service, and you got identity theft. Those are the really big picture security threats here, but I'd like to group them together in terms of technology weakness, configuration weakness, and human error and malice. Be sure that you know how to group your answers in terms of these big categories, and you're going to get low-hanging fruit when you get to your real exam. Let's look at securing the operating system. All right. Well, first we got a hot fix. And pay attention to the exact wording here. Hot fixes fix errors in operating system code, replace files with revised versions. Essentially, you're taking one file with a weakness and replacing it with another. And if you've ever looked into how this works, if you have ever downloaded the actual hotfix and looked at the files that it changed in the operating system, typically it's just one DLL or something like that. You got patches. Patches are temporary or quick fixes. They fix compatibility issues or operating system issues. Then you got updates. These enhance the operating system and can add security features. They can improve the functionality or the performance of the operating system. Next, you got service packs. Service packs are a collection of updates. So it's a collection of these guys. Enhancements of the operating system, security features, improved functionality or performance. Now, Microsoft, of course, has some tools such as Windows Update, and that'll allow you to do things like an automatic update. In other words, you just go ahead and install the updates, hotfixes, or patches right away. I don't care. Or you can have granular control over it by doing it manually. I like to think that Windows Update is the Windows component of patch management. But patch management in itself, this essentially is just the history of patches. Now, a Windows system, you have the View Update History list, which you can view through Control Panel, and that will give you a list of absolutely everything that's been installed on the system. At least you hope. Next, you got the BIOS. Be fluent with flashing the BIOS. And the quick one here is to go ahead and go to the vendor's website and follow their instructions. You can check right now your operating system, what the BIOS is, what version it currently is. Check the vendor's website to see if there's an update. I wouldn't do this just for the sake of doing it, but if you need an updated BIOS, you certainly can get the latest and greatest software. Next, you got Windows Firewall. I want you to be fluent with the Windows Firewall options. However, this is a Windows-specific thing. So this goes a long way in terms of, on the job, but not so far in terms of the scope of the exam. However, I would say know the Windows Firewall. Know how to turn it on, know how to turn it off, know how to make exceptions to the host-based firewall, because when you're dealing with it in the real world, something simple like the Windows Firewall could have you chasing your head around if you don't realize that that's on. Always check for that first. All right, user access control. This essentially is the run as command. Now you can do this by shift right clicking and getting the run as command in the right click list, the menu that pops up, or you can do it through the command prompt. This essentially is privilege escalation, and you're going to need to know how to do it. That's definitely something that you need to have handy for on-the-job experience. And that's going to conclude securing the operating system. Next, let's look at virus and spyware management. Okay, I like to classify this a little bit differently. You got threats, you got the conversation of antivirus, and you've got spyware in general. And as far as spyware is concerned, you got to know how to rate this stuff. Some of the ratings are severe, to high, to medium, to low, or not yet classified. It really just determines how intrusive the spyware is. I think you're all probably up to speed with antivirus. If not, you need to be, and you can go to websites like Symantec.com, ESET.com, McAfee, eSafe, F-Prot, TrendMicro.com, or Avast.com if you really need more information on antivirus. And of course, you should know that always keep the latest and greatest antivirus signatures. All right, so let's summarize these threats here in terms of viruses. Okay, a virus, these need human intervention to replicate. So a human has to be involved. So training, education, and user awareness goes a long way to prevent viruses. Also have the latest and greatest antivirus. Next, you've got worms. These replicate on their own by the operating system. So you really need to make sure that you're patched up to date, because user awareness really isn't going to help you too much there. Next, you got Trojans. These are programs that act as they're good, but they're really doing something bad, like capturing your password and sending it to, the bad guys. Next, you got spyware. This will just spy on user behavior, look for trends, like, for example, to look at your cookies, and when you surf the internet, it'll go ahead and prompt you, for ads based off of, the types of things that you normally or regularly visit. Very, very similar to adware. Adware is a form of spyware that will add pop-ups and things like that to solicit you. Next, we got spam, and really the only thing to talk about spam is really anti-spam countermeasures. For example, things like don't share your account. That's good. Use complex emails, like, for example, or I should say passwords, numbers, letters, special characters. Make sure that you use secure transactions. All right, that will thwart against spam. Don't click on the links. If you see something that says, hey, I'm going to paypal.com, don't click on the link to go to paypal.com. Open up a web browser, type in www.paypal.com, and go to it. That goes for the same for Bank of America or any other site. Don't trust the links, because there's no way to validate them. And of course, you could delete messages that you don't know or from someone you don't trust. And that's really a real quick wrap up of spam, threats, antivirus, and spyware. So we'll go ahead and move on. Let's talk about web browser security.